Hey guys, how you going? And welcome back to In the Shed. This is going to be an incredible episode. I am very much looking forward to it because not only are we not just in Australia this time, but we're actually going all the way over to America. And we're going to be talking some baseball today, which is something that we haven't done before. I'm very intrigued. Obviously, you guys know that I was vlogging at Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox and even San Francisco Giants last year for some baseball games, and I really got into the sport. I really got into absolutely getting around it. So even though I'm still quite fresh on the baseball scene, I'm really looking forward to kind of looking more into college baseball and just the whole thing. It's just such an incredible sport. Now, obviously, guys, we do have our co-host Hayden, Entertain House. How you going, big fella?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm not too familiar with my baseball, but I'm here to listen, learn, and I'm excited to speak about our guest's career because he's off to a strong start, and I think he's going to get a lot better.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, well, I've seen his throw-out percentage, and we'll get into that in a second, and that's just absolutely – it baffles me. Like, the thing is that I guess that he's actually a catcher, and for me, that's similar to like a goalkeeper if I think about like in football, as in soccer for the people who don't call it football. It's like people are kicking balls at you or that people are throwing the ball at you. And it's really hard to do, you know. There's like in football, they're kicking it as hard as possible and you've got to stop it. It's just like, well, that's scary in the first place. And then in baseball as a catcher, you know, the pitch is throwing, buddy, 100 mile an hour, and that's not even as fast as they possibly go. Like they're throwing 100 mile an hour, hard balls right at you. You just like, you got to catch. It freaks me out. But let's get into our guests who we're very excited to talk to. So today in the Sheds, we're going to be jetting off to the United States of America for the first time on the show. Our guest today, originating from Round Rock in Texas, recently got the call up by the 2019 Major League Baseball Draft with the 230th pick being taken by the Chicago White Sox. He made his name with West Virginia as a catcher, being known for his unbelievable percentage of throwing out base stealers, achieving 20 people thrown out of 44 attempts, meaning an insane percentage of 45.4%. For the uninitiated, that means in the big leagues, the average sits at roughly 31%. So that's a ginormous achievement there in between. Now playing in the minor leagues as he works his way to the top of the food chain, please join me in welcoming Ivan Gonzalez. Welcome, big fella.
Thank you, man. Wow, that was really impressive. Really did your research, man. But no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's like I said before, I was looking forward to this all week, and I'm just excited to chat it up with the boys, you know?
Exactly right, man. Exactly right. Well, at least I know a lot of Americans laugh at our Australian accent, so I think I messaged you as well. I was like, as long as you don't laugh too much at our accent.
No, yeah, that's awesome. But no, just like you said earlier, it's a fun experience, you know? We're a ways away from each other, but we get to just chat it up like any other boys, and it's going to be a fun one.
Exactly right, man. Exactly right. Well, you know, it's been a difficult year, man. You know, obviously, like we said, you got drafted last year, and it's been a real difficult 2020 right now. How have you been coping through everything?
Yeah, so it's a little crazy. I mean, everywhere in the world right now, but the key thing is to try and stay healthy. You know, stay around your family members and just listen to the rules that the government's throwing out there, but as a baseball player, it kind of sucks because your whole life you've been used to just around this time playing games, you know, exactly consistently right. Every weekend, you know, Tuesday games, Thursday you travel, Friday, Saturday, Sunday you play, you know. So It kind of sucks being out of your routine, and you're kind of left in the dark because our organizations they don't know what they're deciding either. So you just get a phone call once a week and say, hey, stay ready. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's just been like that for months now. So you just have no idea. But the main focus is to just try and stay healthy, stay safe with the family.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, I've actually thought with baseball specifically, like, that's probably the sport that's been impacted the most. Like, the NBA still got a significant chunk. You know, the NHL got a significant chunk. NFL's not even on right now. In Australia, we've got a couple of games here and there, and we're coming back. But with baseball, it's like, they're missing the whole season right now. Like it's the whole season that's being impacted. Yeah. And how is that going to affect the game?
Well, that's the thing is a lot of the managers right now, the number one, like the day where they make the most revenue is opening day for MLB. And we never had that because during spring training, that's when we got sent home.
Yeah.
So there's no revenue being made right now. And that's like their issues. They're trying to cut some paychecks and also play the game, but then the players don't want to play because you might get the virus, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
right.
Health over money right now, but it just sucks for us baseball players because we play this for 6 months. You know, you prepare for 6 months, you play for 6 months, and this is where you shine. You make a name for yourself. And right now you can't really do that because there's no games going on. So some guys around this time, they really feel pressured right now because next year, who knows, they might get released, but they never got the chance to play because of the whole Rona. For the new draft guys, you just have no idea. I've already heard of multiple of my friends that I got drafted with this past year that just got released. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, so like people are still getting released left and right, and you can't control it. You can't base it off, oh, I had a terrible season, because there's no season.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah. I don't know how would they, from a player's perspective, how would they be kind of making those decisions to drop players or to kind of release players when there is nothing to really base it on? Like, what would you be saying would be the reason for that?
Well, from just like my knowledge and what I know as just the ball playing side is, so either the guy is a veteran guy and he hasn't moved up in years and levels to get to the major league, so they're probably thinking, all right, maybe it's time to get him, to release him. So maybe that's one reason. Another reason is maybe they didn't spend a lot of money on you in the draft. So for them, it's not like a huge priority. You're not one of the main guys that, oh, we spent millions of dollars or we spent $100,000 on you. Because there's guys that are free agents that sign for nothing. There's guys that sign for $1,000. You just never know.
Yeah.
And so the way it goes is the more money you get, the more valuable you are to the organization. So, yeah, so it just goes – there's a lot of things. You could be hurt. Hey, this guy hasn't played in 2 years. He's been hurt. He's injury prone. Let's release him, There's just a lot of factors that come in, and it just kind of sucks for those guys that either they're on their end of the ride and have nothing to show for because you can't play due to the virus. And, it kind of sucks. Your head starts thinking, but it's something that you can't really control.
Well, exactly right. Well, we were talking to Charlie Dixon from the AFL. That's an Australian sport, if you want to aware of it, AFL, where he basically has had quite a few injuries over his time, and he was feeling really good. He was feeling like this is the year, like he was going to pick it up and take to that next level and been training hard, and he was looking good. And then this happened, and obviously, well, that's all just gone and thrown up in whack. Like, what improvements were you making in yourself that you feel like you were about to take that next step?
Exactly. I could relate to that. So during the off season, I really worked on getting more power on my bat, driving the balls further, hitting more home runs, just doing more damage. I really felt like that. I went back to spring training and I was seeing results right out of the gate. We were playing 6-inning games, live ABs where we were facing each other. And I was seeing all these results and I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good year. This is my first spring training. It's going just as I planned. I really worked hard for it. I'm hitting the ball well, I'm catching, I'm opening people's eyes, and then we just get sent home. So it's like, wow, you put in this entire work for 6 months. You've seen a little bit of the light. You've seen it kind of develop, and all that work is starting to show a little bit. So it's like, all right, I got the momentum for this season. I'm going to go into this season really hard. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And then one day you get a call saying, hey, everybody show up to the facility at 10 a.m. And then they gave us the boot. They're saying, hey, everyone's got to go home. So it just sucks because all that work, all that sweat, it kind of feels like it's just going down the drain because you're just sitting at home,
Well, yeah, exactly. I personally think that as well, and we'll get off this in a second because obviously this is obviously really difficult to talk about because it's affecting so many people. But, especially for a rookie as well, because, these names like, say, Javi Baez and all that, they're playing in the big leagues. They've got their name sorted. They're not getting dropped. But yet when you're playing for the minor leagues, which we'll also get into in a second, it's different because obviously you haven't made that name for yourself yet, but you're doing your absolute best. You're sweating, you're grinding to make that name for yourself. So I feel like it definitely affects the more grassroots side, more of the rookie side of things than it does the big enders.
No, I agree 100%. Like the guys you mentioned, Javi Baez, he's not going to get released anytime soon. He's already made a name for himself. He's a big leaguer. And the only thing that I do think that's really positive about this is, so they said that they were going to extend the big league team roster. So usually it's 40. But they're thinking of expanding it to like 60. So those extra 20 guys that do get called up and say, hey, you guys are going to be with the big league team due to this virus, that's one thing that I think is really cool because maybe if this virus wasn't going on and they didn't expand that roster, they wouldn't have made it, Yeah. They would have probably been sent down to AAA or AA. But since the virus, they're going to expand the roster. So I think that's pretty cool So for those guys that get that extra call up, that would be awesome.
I wanted to ask you because, I did. We'll talk about it in a second, but like I did so with the draft and then actually going to the big leagues. I've heard from a friend of mine that says it's usually quite a few years before you actually begin your Major League Baseball life. Like usually with obviously with basketball, it's very quick. It's very like if you're first pick, you're straight in. But with baseball, it's like if you're first pick, you're still not going straight in.
Yeah. Well, so the way it works is there's 40 rounds in the draft, and then. So you have your rookie team, and so there's 15 teams in Arizona, and then there's 15 teams in Florida.
Yeah.
So then you also have your Dominican Republic league. So then there's that. So the way it works is usually you get drafted, and you'll go to rookie ball, so the way that happened to me, I got drafted. I instantly from college got sent to Arizona, which is where our spring training facility is, and I played there. That's called the rookie season, like the rookie league.
Yeah.
And then mid season, I got called up to advanced rookie in Montana in Great Falls. And then that's where I finished off the season. So there's different levels. There's your rookie, there's your rookie advanced, there's your low A, your high A, your double A, triple A, and then big league team. So it's a grind.
Lots of levels.
You don't have to go through every single one. I've known guys that got drafted and they'll go straight into like high A. So like they've skipped 3 levels already, So it just depends on where they see you. They'll draft you and they're like, all right, well, like for me, they told me to go to rookie to get some rest because in college I caught 60-something games and I'd never done that before. So they're like, hey, we're going to give you a break a little bit. You're going to catch like every other 4 games. So I was getting a good break and I was getting back. And then once they pushed me up to advance in Great Falls, I was catching 3 games and then sitting 1. So it went back to grinding. Yeah, I mean, it just depends where the organization sees you. If they think you need to develop more, they'll send you to a different, maybe to like a lower, which is advanced, or they'll send you straight to high A if they think you can handle that competition. So it varies. Just
for the listeners out there who aren't too aware of baseball and the whole rotation system, like a lot of people obviously considering in Australia, like the big sports are rugby league and AFL and are really physical sports where, you have that week-long break. And I feel like a lot of Australians won't understand the why you would need that rest, especially as a catcher. How would you explain that for people who don't really know the physical attributes that have to go into needing that rest?
Yeah. Well, for me as a catcher, it definitely involves all my lower body. I mean, I'm squatting for about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Give it the time we're on offense. So I'd say around 2 hours, you're kind of squatting. And it's just day after day. So in college, just to give you a little breakdown, Thursday we would travel. We would practice that same night wherever we were at. So the practice would end around 8. We'd get up Saturday or Friday morning. We would lift around 10. Then we'd be at the ballpark at like noon for a game that's at like 7 o'clock, 6:30. Just hanging around, getting your massages in. So it's every day you're doing something. So you have to figure out how to understand your body and know what you need. So like for me, ice baths work. So for pitching, guys that are throwing every day, you throw 100 pitches a game, your arm's going to start getting sore. Your elbow's going to start hurting, your forearm. So, like, you need things to help you. And we have a lot of arm care. We have a lot of trainers that take care of your arm and do a lot of stretches. But that's where that break comes in, that 5-day rest. If you're a starter, you're going to get that 5-day rest just because your arm can only take so much, Your shoulder starts acting up. Then one thing leads to another, then your elbow. And then, unfortunately, there's guys that have Tommy John just because they throw so much, And it happens now. It's a regular thing. And it kind of sucks because you're out for a whole year as well with Tommy John. So it just sucks. So that break is very necessary just for the pitching, I think. For catching and infielders, you'll get your day's rest. You'll play 3 games. You'll rest 1 or 2. So that's usually what helps out. But so the guys that are really grinding, like everyday starters, those are the guys that get torn down quicker just because they're always going.
Well, let's move back to yourself specifically in regards to how you got into baseball, because this is something that I find really interesting as well. Like you're from Round Rock, Texas, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So
You've
in
got the Texas in the background, haven't you? You've got a piece of home in your room there. I can see it in the left-hand corner.
Where is it? Oh, there we go. I can see it now. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. So
It's actually a trophy, so it's a
yeah.
Texas side trophy.
That's awesome. Well, the thing is that, like, Texas, I was always assuming that, like, it was a big football state, like, you know, with the Dallas Cowboys, the Houston Texans. What made you choose baseball over, say, football or even NBA, you know?
Well, I'd have to go with my height there. I'm not your typical like 6-foot catcher, you know. I'm only like 5'9", so I've never really passed the eye test as a catcher. Usually the catchers are 6 foot, 5'10", you know, they're a little stockier, bigger.
Yeah.
So I've never passed that physical eye test until I started to play. So that's how I let my playing kind of do the talking for me, just because I know right off the bat you're going to think, oh, this guy's not big. He's not as big as this guy. But once we start playing on the field, that's where I do my talking. So I actually picked up baseball from my dad. He used to play just back in El Paso, just pick up baseball, you know, and he kind of just taught me the fundamentals, and I mastered the fundamentals of just fielding, footwork, just basic things you need in every sport, you know, get in rhythm, footwork, have some sort of thing to slow the game down, a little mechanism, you know, just things like that any kind of athlete needs. And after that, it's kind of, I just picked little things here and there from coaches that I've ran into that have helped me, whether it's with my swing, whether it's with my throw, whether if it's anything. I kind of just, since I mastered the fundamentals as a young age, it kind of just formed me into being a coachable player.
Yeah.
But that's how I came up. Yeah, my dad taught me when I was 4 years old, and I played soccer in high school a little bit. I played football 1 year, just for like strength training, and then that was about it. Our high school is actually a big rugby high school. We have a lot of guys that go to Life University.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of guys that go to Life University. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to hear that there's a rugby university over there. Like, obviously, I've been to America, and not many people know about it.
Yeah, a lot of the guys take pride in it, because our high school and this other high school, they merge teams, and we've had like a handful of guys from that team go to Life University and play rugby on scholarship. So that's awesum.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's
well-known
interesting
stuff.
as, man. That's cool as, especially being Australian. Like, good go rugby.
Yeah.
But no, what you said you started at 4, and that's insane. And I love what you've just said in regards to, you know, you let your playing do the talking rather than your physical attributes. Like, you're not the tallest, you're not exactly what most people would necessarily think a catcher would be, but yet you do the playing, which makes you the best you can possibly be. That's something that I really think is something that a lot of people will be able to respect.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks sometimes, just because like, so one thing that I really wanted to do was I wanted to go to college somewhere in Texas. You know, it's a prideful thing. Like, hey, I want to go somewhere in Texas, big school. And it just so happened that I ended up going to West Virginia, which is a big rival of any like Texas school. So like Texas Christian University, A&M, like Texas Longhorns, all these guys. And what helped me is that I just played with a chip on my shoulder. I'm like, so we're playing another Texas team. They didn't offer me. They didn't even look at me. And so that kind of helped me. I always had that chip, and I still have it to this day, right on my shoulder. And it's just, I guess it just keeps you humbling. As I'm living out my dream to be a professional baseball player, you know, it's very rare, but it humbles me, saying I still got to keep working. I got to work more than the guy next to me. And it's just that mentality, having it, you know, it's fun. I find it really, really exciting, saying, all right, this guy is like really well known. He probably thinks he's better, and then you just outplay him, you know, and it's that satisfying feeling after the game, like, wow, I did something way better than he did, or I'm this much better. And it just gives you an extra boost in your confidence. So it just keeps rolling. It's just like a snowball effect.
You spoke about the coaches helping you with your throwing and your batting a lot, and I wanted to know, you're on another level with your game. I'll say it now. You're on an absolute another level. And do you think you'd be there without that coaching? Do you think you're someone who could pick up the bat, pick up the ball, learn yourself? Or do you think college and at that young age where you said, I believe your dad assisted you through that, is put you to where you are today on the game?
No, I definitely, till this day, I always thank my high school coach and my dad, and then also my college coach, because I picked up different things from multiple people around that I've been around the baseball game. But it's just things that I picked up that work for me. You know, there's things that people preach and it's not going to work for you. So you take it in, you try and understand how it works, or say someone's trying to teach you how to throw a baseball and then you really don't feel comfortable, your arm doesn't feel good. You kind of just take it in and say, all right, maybe that's not for me, you know? So I did that a lot. There's a lot of things where people told me do this, do that, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't mixing well with my routine or the way I like to feel. But definitely my high school coach, he taught me a lot. And it's just so happened that my college coach was the exact same person as my high school. And we had like a lot of rules. Like we weren't allowed to have facial hair. So since high school, I wasn't allowed to have facial hair, you know? And then in college, same thing. I had super long hair my senior year. It's like down to my
I noticed
shoulders.
that, yeah. I think I've seen a picture of that, yeah.
And then my college coach says, hey, you have to earn that. So I had to chop it off. And I'm like, dude, it took me like a whole year to grow it out. And just in one fall, my freshman year, I had to chop it off. But so it's like just the rules of being disciplined like that. And, yeah, it really helped me a lot to form my game and how the way I play the game. I definitely picked up from my dad, my high school coach, and my college coach. Those are the main three guys.
Well, what made you want to become a catcher specifically? Like, obviously, you said that you tried playing everything basically, but what made you want to become specifically a catcher? Because, like I said at the beginning, like I find that catching could be quite a scary thing for a young person anyway, until you really learn it. Because, like, at first, people are throwing 100 miles. I don't know how fast they can go, but they're fast balls they're throwing at you.
Yeah. I tell some kids all the time and some parents that, hey, catching's not really fun, but you can make it fun.
Yeah,
you can make it fun. But so in high school, I played second, then I played third base, and then I caught my junior and senior season. And then when colleges were approaching me, they wanted me to catch. So it's not like I was always known for being a catcher growing up. Like all my friends and buddies always knew that, hey, that's Ivan. Like he's a catcher. He doesn't really play any other positions, but I could. And in college, that's actually how I came to start. So my freshman year, I wasn't going to start. Halfway through the season, coach comes up to me and he's like, hey, we're going to put you at third base, because I was hitting really well. So he was like, I want you in the lineup. So I was like, put me wherever, coach. Like wherever you need me, I'll play. Like I just wanted to start. And sure enough, I ended up being a freshman All-American third baseman. So like I played third, and then catching has just been my bread and butter. It's been something that it's just kind of easy for me. It's like second nature. I can pick up drills easy, and I'm pretty good at it. I'm always the favorite catcher in the staff that I have. So that's been one thing that I've taken pride in. As long as people want you to catch them, you're going to be around, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of pitchers say, I want that guy to catch me. I want that guy. So then they'll start telling their managers, and they're like, well, why do you want him to catch you? Why? And it's because I give him feedback, help him out. So like I have that camaraderie, that kind of brotherhood right off the gate with the guy. So that's something that I really take pride in.
Well, that's what I've noticed when like I've gone to games myself. So like I said before, I've been to Chicago Cubs games and White Sox games and Giants games, and I've noticed that whenever the pitcher's walking out, he's always walking out the catcher. So for example, with the Cubs, it's Contreras walking out with Lester, and they're walking out together. It's like it's that camaraderie. So do you feel like it's more about the pitcher choosing the catcher than necessarily the actual coaching staff? Because obviously the coaching staff do have a massive say in it, but.
No, yeah, well, just being a player myself is sometimes whenever I'm not playing that day and I'm in the bullpen, just hanging out with the pitchers and the guys, chatting it up, they usually say, hey, man, I really wish, like, I don't throw this game because so-and-so's catching. So, yeah, there's people that you want to catch, and there's some guys like me personally, there's some guys where I'm like, man, I really wish this man doesn't come in because I can't catch him. I'm not good. He throws too hard or he throws too funky. So, like, it goes back and forth, but yeah, there's always those guys that are like, hey, man, I really wish, like, their confidence isn't as high just because that catcher is not behind there. You know, it's not their favorite dude, or, oh, man, my best friend's shortstop's not playing today. Like, there's going to be some errors, you know. So that starts playing into effect. But I just think if you're a pitcher like that, you're kind of weak-minded, man. You're kind of out there by yourself. You know, you're in a mound, you're in the middle of the field, you're the one throwing the ball. So if you have that mentality, you're already going to have a terrible, terrible outcome, you know?
Well, it's just too specific. Like, obviously, you should be able to play with everyone. Obviously,
Yeah.
you do have your preferences, but you
Yeah.
should be able to play with everyone. And I guess there would be a lot of that, and that happens with all in life. Like every part of life, man. Like there is that point where people, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And
Yeah,
I guess that's what this comes down to sometimes.
oh yeah, no, 100%. That's exactly where it comes down to. I think in this business as well. Especially nowadays, just even in general, just to find a job. I know a lot of buddies that they didn't get a college degree, or they did, and right out of college they got a really good job, and it's just because they met somebody that met somebody, and they became contacts and became friends, and then they help each other out, and next thing you know, you have the job that you want or something like that. So I think I firmly believe in this day and age that it's not how many hands you shake, it's whose hand you shake,
Exactly right. That shocks me. Like considering, like specifically sports. Like I know about it, but I didn't actually know that it would be such a big thing in sport. Like, yes, I always knew it would be there, but in the same sense, I never knew it would actually be a huge thing, as you've just said. But when did you know you wanted to go pro? Obviously, you wanted to go pro. You wanted to become a professional player. But when did you know that you could actually achieve that dream?
So yeah, my dream of becoming a professional baseball player was since I was like 4, but I didn't really know that I had the opportunity until I got to college, because even in high school, I wanted to play college ball, but I didn't really know if I was going to be able to get the opportunity, just because of my size and stuff. These big tournaments and just, play hard, try to do everything right, and hopefully I was getting scholarships in. And sure enough, I ended up getting scholarships. And so then after that, I was like, all right, well, if I can do this, then I can definitely try and play pro ball. I can definitely grind it out and get better. And sure enough, once I got to college, I was like, all right, this is when my freshman year, after the season ended, I was like, this is what I got to do to improve. This is where I want to be in 2 years, in 3 years. This is a guy that I want to be. So I'm a big YouTube guy. I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
I find a lot of players are like that nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would pick up random drills from big leaguers that were doing these drills that I thought would benefit me. So that's what I started doing, is a lot of YouTube, getting research, some drills that would benefit me, my size, the way I throw, the way I run, things like that. And then my junior year, we have this thing called fall meetings, and it happens in the fall before the season starts, and the scouts want to meet you. So they contact the head coach, and these pro scouts are like, hey, I want to talk to so-and-so. And then they set up a meeting for you. So I ended up meeting my junior year. I ended up meeting with 21 teams. So after that, I was like, oh, I can do this. And if I have 21 teams interested in me that are willing to just talk to me and get to know me, then I definitely have a shot. So after that, I was just kind of keep your head on straight, don't get distracted. And I went to a huge party school, so that was a big distraction. And but yeah, so you got to learn how to balance it. But
we're gonna get into that in a second. Actually, no, you know what? We're gonna get into that now because you've mentioned it. So obviously, Australians, we see the American Pies, we see the big time movies. We see what American college or high school life is meant to be like. Is that the case? Is that what it is?
Honestly, so in high school, it just depends where you're from, and then that's one thing I noticed, because in high school, I didn't really have a lot of friends that drank. They didn't really drink a lot, But then when I got to college and I met the other freshmen that were in my grade, so there was a guy from New York, a guy from up north, Pennsylvania, and all they were doing was drinking in high school because they all had basements.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, in Texas, there's people that drink, but it's not like a New York thing where you guys been drinking since high school in the basement, You guys have to deal with snow. We're always outside. We can do stuff. So in college, and I didn't know this until I got to West Virginia, that it was a top 5 party school in the nation, ranked every year. So it was definitely eye opening, and it definitely could. I saw some friends kind of steer the wrong path and lose their focus, and sadly enough, they ended up getting cut or they got injured or stuff like that, which is sad. But yeah, it could definitely take you off the tracks to your goal. And as long as you can balance it and do both, and you're okay, there's nothing going on, there's no problem, it's more power to you, you know?
Did you ever have a difficult time in college in those moments? Like, obviously that was a big distraction, but was there ever a moment for yourself where you thought you couldn't really overcome it and you proved yourself wrong and you did?
No, not really. I mean, I did. So I will agree, and my buddies will agree. I did have a bad case of FOMO, of fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So I was always that guy that, like, last minute, I'd be on the couch just hanging out, you know, like, hey, guys, I'm going to stay in, play some Fortnite or something. And then all the guys show up, and they're like, all right, we're leaving. And then I'd be like, oh, never mind. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And then I'd end up going. So, like, there was one thing that I do regret is there would be some times where we'd have a game Friday and I'd be out Thursday night, you know, and I would still play perfectly fine. But it was just the fact that I was out the night before, and who knows, I could have played better, you know, if, stuff like that. But yeah, there were some times where I'd get a bad case of FOMO, and I kind of learned that through the years of being in college, that the dream that you want to go to is obviously way more satisfying than going out one night, you know?
Exactly right. Yeah.
So yeah, once you got the head on straight and that tunnel vision, it was the partying died down and it was more focused, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, man. Like, exactly what you just said. Like, people need to realize that obviously that one night, yeah, it's fun as, you know, you go out, you get crazy, you get loose, and you're with a million people. But the point of the matter is that, like, you can do that throughout your career if you want to with a much better situation. For example, if you get through and do actually play for the Chicago White Sox, like, the amount of things that you're partying you can do there in your spare time is just, like, you need to set yourself up first. And it's good that you realize that at an early age before going down that path that so many people do. And I guess you would have seen a lot of them.
No, yeah. And till this day, like, even the guys now that do end up getting drafted and they're still young, because sometimes they sign these kids at 16, 17 years old for millions of dollars, you know? So they have no idea. They're young. They don't even know how to make their own food, you know? And, and so sometimes you're just sitting there and, like, you're like, wow, this 18-year-old next to me has like $3.4 million in his bank account and can't hold a conversation. So, like, you try and give them some chat here and there, like, hey, you should do this, or hey, just because of your experience, you know, you got 4 years of college under your belt. Gonna go living on your own is a whole different world.
100%. You know? Yeah.
So these guys, they're 18, they get all this money and they have no idea. So they buy random stuff and they start blowing it. And from your perspective, you're like, hey man, you should say that. You never know how long you could play. You could get injured tomorrow. You know, you have no idea. So you try to like give them some chatter here and there and just trying to help them out. And because they're young, they're babies. You see them, it's like they're 18 years old and you're like, hey man, like, and then you see your Latin players that are 16 years old and they're even smaller than you. So it's like, oh man, you're just a kid. But the way they play is through the roof. They're playing like they're 20-year-olds. You know, it's crazy watching those guys.
Yeah, no, it's crazy when all these sports do sign these young players with potential to these huge contracts that arguably you could give to some of the better players who've already shown themselves, but they're giving them to these 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds, like you said, who haven't actually, and we find this a lot with actually football, like in European football with, like, say, Eden Hazard obviously proved himself, but, you know, there's a lot of players who've been paid that huge sum, £300,000, £250,000 a week, and they just haven't lived up to the potential. And I feel like that's the problem. You know, don't give the young blood the heavy, and I feel like the NFL does this perfectly, because the NFL obviously you get a rookie contract and then you sign your big time contract.
I think that's the way to do it, honestly. And I'm not saying that just because, but I think the college guy should get the more money just because it's more experience. You know, you're playing guys that are older. You're playing guys that have more experience under their belt, you know. And but then there's your guys that are 18, like you said, but that can play. There's guys that are 18 years old, and you're like, wow, this guy hasn't played college ball, but this guy's putting way better numbers than the guy that did play college, has more experience, you know? Some guys are just talented. They just have that natural ability. They're gifted, you know? Yeah. And but yeah, it's just, I guess, just trying to keep those guys under your wing and trying to help them out. You do have your guys where they're kind of, choose my language, but they're kind of dicks and pretty, you know, like, hey, I signed for this money. Like, don't talk to me. There's those guys too. it just sucks because you try to give them advice, or you trying to, just give your word and try to help a guy out, and it's their return is like, oh, I don't need to listen to you, like you don't have millions of dollars or stuff like that. So you have those guys too, but it's definitely opened a lot of doors for me, and just meeting just like this, like I'm talking to somebody from Australia, and I never thought I'd be doing that,
Well,
so
I'm in Fiji and he's in Australia. So
you're talking to someone from Australia. There you
go. So Fiji's even less. Like, Fiji's a small little island nation in the South Pacific.
So I mean, this is awesome. Just be doing this, man. So again, thank you guys for having me. And this is awesome.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we're loving talking here, and I love hearing about all this stuff because I never would have known any of this stuff beforehand. Like I said, last year was when I went to Chicago, when I really got into baseball by the experience. And although, actually, funny story. So my first ever game was the Chicago White Sox versus Seattle Mariners opening day last year, and I went there thinking, and my friend who I was living with there, he was a massive White Sox fan. So I went there and I was like, oh, here we go. This is my team. I'm going to be the White Sox. They won 10-8. They nearly hit a grand slam in the first game. And I was like, wow, I nearly just reached the peak. So then that happened, and it was a good atmosphere there. But then I went across town to Wrigley Field, and I was there for opening day, Cubs versus Pittsburgh Pirates, and they won 10-0. And it was a beautiful day in Chicago, like sunny. So I've actually become a Cubbies fan. But I always respect the White Sox because I love their mentality. I love the way they do things. Like they know that they're the lesser team in the city, but they still know how to pump along. And you should be proud that you got drafted by them, man.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because during the whole draft process, I didn't talk to the White Sox. They weren't in communication with me.
Wow.
And then out of nowhere, I get a call and they're like, hey, we're going to take you. We're going to draft you this next round. And I was like, wait, what? I was just with two other teams that are about to take me, and then the White Sox beat them to it. So it's crazy. And
are you allowed to say who those two other teams were?
Yeah, so it was the Padres and it was the A's. The Athletic A's. The Padres. The San Diego Padres were going to take me that next round as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the only thing that beat them was that the White Sox had an earlier pick.
Yeah, wow, so, that's insane, man.
So I was excited, and I was waiting for my name to get called up, and next thing you know, I get a call from my agent, and he's like, hey, the White Sox want you. They're going to take you right now. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
True. Well, that's actually a question I wanted to ask, actually. Like, how long before your name gets read out do you actually know? Like, or do you actually wait for your name to get read out? Or do you, how's that process go?
No, it on the TV, on the ESPN, it'll play. So it goes on for 3 days.
Yeah.
And it'll play the name and then, where you're from, your college. But you personally, so I got a call in the 6th round, in the 7th round, and it was the Padres, and then it was the White Sox, and they're like, hey, we're going to take you this next round, or we're thinking about taking you. And I'm like, all right, well, at that point, you just say, I'm willing to play, I want to play.
So they said, we're thinking about taking you.
Yeah, so it wasn't a for sure, because these scouts, what they do is they go watch you, right? They have scouts in different regions. They go watch you. Then they're like, all right, during draft, they throw your name on the board. They're like, hey, I really like this guy from this area. Look him up. And then they'll pull up all your numbers. They'll do research, whatever. And so that's how they pick you. They're like, all right. So it's kind of a majority vote. We want to invest in this guy. All right, let's pick this guy. Yeah. So the agent that called me, or the scout was like, hey, we're thinking about taking you in this next round. Just stay next to your phone. Then right after that, my agent called me and hey, the White Sox are picking you right now. And I'm like, what? So I hung up the phone. And I looked up, and there was 4 guys that went before me, and then my name popped up. So I kind of knew a couple picks, maybe almost a round before that I was going to get picked.
Yeah, wow, that's insane. That's insane that obviously that they say we might take you, so a little bit of a teaser, and then
that's what it is. It's hey, we're thinking about taking you. Just stay next to your phone. We'll call you back real quick, and then they'll hang up, and it's all right, well. You're sitting there jittery right next to your phone. Is he going to call me back? Is he going to call me back? And then right after that, as I got drafted, I'm on the phone with the White Sox manager. And then I get a call from the Padres scout. And he's like, hey, man, we really wanted to get you. Congratulations. Go do your thing. he was congratulating me. So that's cool. It wasn't like, and then he told me like, if there's anything that you need, let him know. So it was cool. Like it opens up more doors, even though that team didn't draft me,
Yeah,
Who knows?
exactly
There could be a trade down in my future where I get traded to the Padres. You never know.
Did you feel like it was a dream come true in that moment? Like,
Yeah,
obviously,
it didn't feel real at all. Just I saw my name and I saw the pick, I saw everything, and I was getting all these phone calls, and it was kind of like I did it. Like all that work that I put in, it's finally there. But then you get that other wave of like, all right, like now we got to prove ourselves. Like now we
like
got
this is just the start. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that second wave like days after, like, all right, I want to get to work. Like I want to go meet these guys. So then you get that feeling, that rush of like, all right, well now that I'm here, what more can I do? What else can I do? Like now I have the shot, I have the opportunity.
Going back to, I think it was 2018 when you were named in the freshman All-America team, you would have been privileged then and it would have been exciting. Did that kind of motivate you to get that spot towards a draft and play at a level where you would reach a goal and go on this path of making Major League Baseball?
Yeah, once I started getting those accolades, it was like, okay, I belong here. I belong at the Division I level, top-notch Big 12 baseball. So after that, it's like all my doubts were kind of leaving me because I had a lot of like insecurities. I would always, all right, this guy's bigger than me. This guy's faster than me. I was always comparing myself instead of sitting back and saying, hey, I'm here. Like I have a scholarship. I have a really good scholarship. I have all these accolades under my belt. Like this is me. I'm here. This is me. I deserve to be here. So once I that started going for me, it was just like, all right, keep going. There's another level. There's another level. So I started looking at my competition outside of my own conference. So I started looking at catchers from the SEC, from all these guys that I don't play, and I was looking at their numbers and comparing myself to who, quote unquote, were the best in college baseball. So like, there's always that next level of strive, that itch that I have. So that's what's carried me, and that's what's helped me along.
What catches do you specifically look at for to improve your game? Obviously, you've got Yasmani Grandal and James McCann right now, and James McCann's obviously done pretty well since he's come in recently. Yeah. He's obviously a fresh talent as well. Who do you look at for inspiration, and even when you're in your college days as well?
So the guys that I really look at, just personality wise, and people that I've got to talk to. And Yasmani's one guy that I've actually studied before I even got to meet him. And just because he's really good behind the dish, he steals strikes very well. His camaraderie with the pitcher is very well. He knows how to talk to him. He knows how to help him out during different situations. And so I used to look up his drills and the way he moves behind the plate a couple times. Obviously, Yadier Molina, he's the best in the game. Yeah. So I try to take some of his techniques and use them in drills. Salvador Perez, I know he's a bigger guy, but some of his drills are really nice. Austin Barnes, it's kind of those guys, but mainly I'd say Yadier Molina. And obviously I'd have to go with Ivan Rodriguez.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm still waiting for my boy. I'm still waiting for my boy Wilson Contreras, mate. Wilson Contreras, mate.
Is really good. Yeah, Wilson Contreras is really good. He's got an arm.
I'll always remember because I was at the game last year. I think it went for like 16 or 17 innings, and he hit the winning home run, and it was just like I love Contreras. He's just a phenomenal catcher, man.
Yeah, he's awesome behind him, and Javier Baez up the middle. Gross. Those guys are really good.
I was going to say, how big of a change was the coaching and training coming from college to the minor league team? Because obviously, as we've explained through the podcast, for those who are listening who aren't aware, you don't go straight to major league. You go through that minor. Does the coaching structure and the training change, or is it all kind of similar?
No, it's all kind of the similar thing. You have your early work where you go and hit extra with the coaches and stuff. The only thing that changes is, all right, they look at your swinger and they'll tell you, how can we make this a better? So you'll tell them like, hey, I want more juice. I want to hit long balls, chicks dig the long ball. I want to bunt better, stuff like that, and they'll help you. They'll give you drills and they'll talk to you. So the training becomes more one-on-one when you get to pro ball, I think, in my eyes, because in college, you have groups, you have your timelines where, you've been at the field for too long. You got to get out before compliance comes and our coach gets in trouble. You have guidelines like that kind of stop you from getting more information just because the coach can't just focus on you. In pro ball, there's hundreds of coaches. There's guys everywhere. There's managers. There's base running coaches. There's coaches for hitting just specifically. There's coaches for out, like anything. So you can look to your left, look to your right, and you can choose, all right, this guy's a 15-year big leaguer that was an all-star for 3 years. Let me go pick his brain, or then you got your student coach that just got released, but now he's a coach. So he's fresh. Let me go pick his brain, So it's like you get your different information from different people, and it just keeps adding on to your arsenal, which is really cool. You just come back.
What baffles me, man, is the numbers game in this sport. Like, this sport is an insane numbers game. Like, I was speaking to Hayden before we actually jumped on here, and he doesn't understand it. And I've been in a year and a half, and I barely even understand it. Like, I understand the basics, like when you've got the board at the game and like the batting average. I can get a good idea of that, but I just find it insane that the numbers game, where there's just like it's like the movie Moneyball is a massive example of that.
No, yeah, and that's how this game is kind of evolving to nowadays. So when I got to pro ball, all these pitchers are talking about their spin rates and their depth perception. And in my mind, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? What is it? And like for them to go throw, it's called a bullpen. They'll go throw 15, 20 pitches just to get their practice in. There's like machines set up right in front of me as I'm catching. Behind them, like they put them all these dots, and you see the screen, their exoskeleton, like their movement and stuff. And I have to pick that up as a catcher as well. I kind of have to learn what they learned to communicate with them. Like, hey, your spin rate on that pitch was really good, or stuff like that. So now it's a numbers game. Now they can read all these numbers and tell you, hey, this guy's an average hitter. He doesn't hit for home runs, but he hits for average, and he gets on base so and so often. Like, it's crazy. One of my buddies for the Dodgers, his name's Chris Roller. He's a big guy, and the Dodgers sent him this website where he can literally watch every AB that he had that past season on film, and it gives him every number you can think of, any number you want. If you want to search, how often does this guy throw this pitch, it'll show it. So it's like this guy was like showing me how to run this program that they give him, because the White Sox use it too, but I didn't really get into it. But now it's like I need to start getting into it, start understanding all these numbers to help myself.
Yeah, wow. That's
so it's crazy. Yeah, it's becoming a big numbers game, and it's like a lot of people know what's going on now. Spin rate, depth, like exit velocity, launching, all kinds of stuff.
I guess you'd have to kind of like adjust your game, like to keep changing. But you obviously, the reason why you're at your level is because you've had this kind of system the whole time, and then you get to this level now, everyone knows exactly what you're doing and how you are, so you have to keep that's mad. Like, that's just
it keeps going. It's like you think you've got there, and it's like, oh wait, I got to learn a bunch of other stuff now. So it's like it just keeps going, and I think that's what keeps it exciting, is that you get to that other level and you're like, all right, well, I'm here, now what? And right off the gate you get thrown into the wolves, and hey, you need to learn this. Hey, these are the team rules. Hey, this is this, like right off the bat. And it's like, all right, well, I'm here now. Let's just keep rolling with it. What can I get? What information can I store in and keep going, And once you start seeing those results and you start becoming a better player, a better version of yourself, it's so satisfying though.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like you just walk around with a big smile, and that's just in anything you do. So it's exciting. It's fun.
Well, it is in anything you do, but in the same sense, like with baseball, it takes a long time to do this. It is not just a sport that you can, it's not a sport you can pick up when you're 15 years old. If you want to be a pitcher, for example, if it's not just a sport, because the thing with Australians is that probably, personally, that I don't I can understand how difficult it is, but other people don't understand how difficult it is just to like. It's not just about swinging the bat. You know what I mean? It's not just about a pitch coming at you and you're getting lucky. The point of that is like you've just said all the numbers that go into like depth perception. Like that's just a mad couple of words in itself. Like, you know
I'll just say if you've done good at baseball on Wii Sports, it doesn't mean you're ready for the real game.
No, yeah, it's definitely a lot easier on Wii Sports. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, well, I don't even think I've played Wii Sports baseball, but yeah, I just think it's crazy that you can have it. How fast are the pitches, by the way, like a fastball?
It varies. So I had a friend, my teammate in college. He was a first rounder this past year. Made some good money.
Yeah, I remember. He went 11th, didn't he?
Yeah, 11th overall. He throws like 98 to 99.
Yeah, wow, that's.
But it's
crazy.
the fact that he can do that for 8 to 9 innings, so he can throw the whole game at 99, 98. It's not like the first 3 he's throwing 98 and the rest it's like 93. It's like he's throwing 96 to 98 for 7 innings, and that's why he went 11th overall.
Yeah, wow. Like, because I've seen the movie The Rookie as well, and that was, I think they were like, it was very special if you could throw in 95, 98 or whatever it was. It was incredibly special. But nowadays,
he was old. He was older, so it was like more special. It's usually the older you get, the softer you start to throw the baseball, But yeah, in that movie, it was the older he was, the harder he was throwing. So yeah, it's something special, man. If you have a sling like that and you can throw it that hard, it's definitely something special to have.
And I feel like it also bigs up the batting perspectives as well. Like on the other side of the things, it's like if you're able to hit consistently, like we've mentioned Javi Baez a couple of times, and he just goes for gold. Like if he hits it and it goes for a home run. If he doesn't, he strikes out. But then you've got your other consistent hitters. I'm trying to think of some really, really consistent on base. Can you name someone really consistent right now?
Yeah, so one guy that really comes to mind is a guy named Joey Votto for the Cincinnati Reds.
Votto, yeah.
Yeah. So his thing, Javi Baez is a big hit or miss guy. He's going to get his hack off, his swing off. He's not going to change,
Yeah.
Which is there's guys like that. And then you got Joey Votto where he's going to get his swing off, but once he gets to that 2-strike mark, he chokes up on the bat. Or Anthony Rizzo.
Rizzo, yeah.
He chokes up on the bat. And then he creeps up to the plate and he gets on the plate with 2 strikes, and his swing turns into, instead of swinging for the wall, it's more of a defensive swing. Just put it in play, So there's those guys that do that as well. And that's something that's really nice to pick up on is you want to be that hard out to get as a hitter. You want to be that so-called gnat that's just annoying, that's in your face.
Yeah, Joey Votto definitely is that type of guy. Like I know with the Cubbies, he always finds a way to get us somehow.
Yeah, so that's the guy you want to be. You want to be the guy where the pitcher looks at you and like, oh, man, this guy's coming up to bat. It's going to be a struggle. I got to make my best pitches right now.
Well, look, I want to we're going to start to wrap up. We've been going for about an hour now, but I want to ask you, we've got a fan question here from AJ Ellis on Instagram, and he has, what was your favorite moment with West Virginia, and who did you support growing up?
So my favorite moment would be my senior year. We hosted a regional, which is something that school has never done before. So yeah, we made history and we hosted a team. We made it to the championship game, but we ended up losing. But that was my favorite memory is, I mean, we'll go down there on the history books. That team will, because we did something that school had never done before. Yeah. And then somebody that I would look up and admire, I'd have to say there'd be a good amount of people, but a person that I really, really admire, I'd have to say my parents. My parents have sacrificed so much for me to travel, for me to go to places, and I'd definitely say my parents.
Well, I think, parents are always the ones that majority should obviously hopefully look up to, because there are a lot of people who don't have that luxury, and that it is a luxury to have really quality parents that do everything to get you over the line. And obviously, your parents have done a phenomenal job to get you to where you are as well. So it's a real good testament to them. But who also, I think you asked, who did you support? Like, who was your baseball team growing up?
My baseball team growing up it would change. It'd go to basic players, but at one point it was the Texas Rangers. When A-Rod, when Alex Rodriguez was there, it was like an old team, but I just love the colors, red, white, and blue. Their jerseys were nice. It was the Texas team. So I grew up watching them, the Rangers.
Yeah, of course. All that. Well, they were quite good back then too, weren't they?
Yeah, back then they were pretty good. They had like an all-star team, and then I don't know what happened, honestly.
I don't know what happened, man. Oh, man.
couldn't tell you. It's like
I'll
the
tell you-
Cowboys, man.
I'll tell you what, Ivan. I support the Boston Red Sox. It's a
Oh,
weird little story.
no.
Nah, shush,
Oh,
mate.
no. Here we
Shush,
go.
mate. It's a weird little story, but like you have people you look up to in high school, and I looked up to my librarian, and my librarian would always bag on in these like school meetings about how much her love for the Red Sox and trying to win championship and all that. And she passed away about 6 years ago, and I think after that it kind of built into me. So that's who I support. It's good that
The
you
Red
stuck
Sox.
with
Oh,
someone
That's
no.
like that.
awesome. How it ties you into a team. Sports, man. Sports is crazy. It leads you all kinds of places everywhere.
100%, man. Well, that's the thing. Like with me, like my YouTube channel is a game day experience vlogging. So I go to the games and film on behalf of the fans' perspective and talk to the players and talk to the fans and just show off the experience. And it was such an incredible experience getting to go to the NHL. Like that's just another level. Like I've never experienced something so wild in my life. Then we've got the baseball with the Cubbies. Like when you hit a grand slam, we hit a grand slam against the Cardinals, and I'm so glad you didn't say you're a Cardinals fan at any stage. But we hit a grand slam against them, and that atmosphere was nuts. I went to the basketball. Like it's just American sport is just so everyone gets around it, and even though your team might suffer in fans occasionally, depending on your results, it's crazy how Americans, just like Australians, absolutely love all their sport.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. People really come together and do a lot of crazy things for any kind of sport. So it's awesome watching the fans and the people do crazy things and just to show the love that they have for that team or that sport.
Do you follow all American sports, Ivan? Like NBA, NFL? Do you just follow it all? Or is there something?
I do to a point. I'm not going to sit here and say that I could tell you the stats of OKC or, like I really don't keep up with it that well, but I'll watch some games. Yeah, I usually watch every sport.
Well, you've got too many stats to think about in baseball anyway. There's too many stats. We've gone over that. You've got too many stats to think about there. But before we jump off, what's your passions outside of the game? Like, do you do other things? Have you got like anything going on outside of baseball?
So one thing that I love doing, I love paddleboarding. I love being on the water.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I love paddleboarding. I mean, lately we've been going on the boat with my buddies. We'll go on the boat, on the raft. Big Netflix guy. I love watching TV shows. I'm a big Game of Thrones guy.
Oh yeah. Except for the last season.
Don't get me started. That's a conversation we'll save for later. But yeah, no. I'm a big family guy. I love being around family and friends. I kind of just do whatever. If a friend wants to go do something, I'll go. I'm that guy that just tags along, does whatever.
Yeah, FOMO, man. Fear of missing out. Exactly right.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, anyway, man, obviously, this has been absolutely incredible. Like, we've really enjoyed having you on. You've been our first American guest, and we've learned so much about the game of baseball and just about America in general as well. So, massive thank you to Ivan Gonzalez for coming out. We'll put all his links to his social media in the description below, but thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me. Hopefully we can do this again and just chat it up,
Well, 100%, man. I was actually thinking maybe like when baseball does come back, if you're not obviously too flat out, but like maybe if we wanted to talk about what's going on in baseball right now and just have a bit of fun.
If that happens, yeah, I'll give you a text or something and we can set something up.
Too easy, brother. Awesome. Awesome. And Hayden, obviously, Entertain House coming along as per usual. Thanks for joining us. Even though you're not a big, like a massive baseball enthusiast, I'm sure you learned a lot today.
Yeah, like you, I really want to go to America and experience that sport. I've learned a lot today, and I think my respect for American sport will grow. But Ivan's a fantastic player, and learning about him was great. And good luck with the White Sox when you get there, mate.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, White Sox, if you listen to this, get him in. He's going to partner Jose Abreu very soon. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching and listening. If you're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, or TuneIn, thank you very much for listening. And if you're on BKRsport YouTube, thank you for watching. We do really appreciate you. If you're not subscribed yet, obviously go down there, hit the subscribe button. Also, we do have the In the Sheds podcast clips page, which I'll pin a comment below so that you can go and subscribe to that. That's little snippets of the individual episodes where we have like specific discussions, so you guys can have the smaller versions as well. Also, obviously, go and follow us all on Instagram and Facebook, the likes. And obviously hit the thumbs up button. That's the main thing. Got to hit that thumbs up button so we know that you're enjoying this content. But that is going to do it for today, guys. So thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.